Hello, welcome to the Cup Night channel. My name is Shane, and today I have a story, a very recent story, last night actually, on September 28th, 2025. That happened to me as I was trying to cook some food. It was pretty intense, pretty dramatic, and I feel compelled to share it because I have to say I am quite proud of myself on how quickly I got over the feelings that this experience brought up in me. So yeah, we'll get into it. But first, Nemo is here. So yeah, he's our little mascot for this story. I'll just put him back here. You can hang out there. Have you lost something? Finding Nemo. Okay. So I had some bok choy and some cabbage, and I was like, well, I've never made any dish with either of these things together before, so I looked it up, and I found a recipe for a stir-fry bok choy cabbage with sesame oil and sesame seeds. And I was like, oh, that sounds simple and easy to do. Let's do that. Yeah, so, I cut up all the bok choy, cut up all the cabbage, wash everything, get everything prepared. There is no wok in the house I'm staying in, my boyfriend's grandma's place, at least not that I was aware of. So I found the recipe actually said, use a 12-inch pan if you don't have a wok. So I found a 12-inch pan. It was a stainless steel pan. And I'm following the instructions, getting everything ready. It says to heat the pan first on high heat. So I'm doing that. And it says, once a drop of water evaporates quickly as it lands on the pan, it's ready. So I put a drop of water on the pan and evaporated rather quickly. And I'm like, cool, okay, it's ready to go. And then the instructions say, I'll put the link to the recipe in the description so you can read it yourself. I'm not sure what I did wrong here, to be honest. But anyway, let me continue. It says to pour the vegetable oil down the side of the pan. And so I go to do that. There's no water in the pan. The pan is empty. I pour the vegetable oil in the pan, and immediately Inferno, just flames, I don't know, they were massive, just completely up to the ceiling almost. There's a stove, and then there's a microwave above that, and then the ceiling, and the flames are like going in front of the microwave, reaching to the top, and my boyfriend's grandma's in the kitchen with me at that point, and we're both just stunned because neither of us were expecting this. Like, it was like a literal tower moment for cooking. And I just, in that moment, everything kind of like went, that scene in movies where something dramatic happens and then they zoom in on one person and they're just stunned, and then there's just this ringing and silence, and there's like people talking in the background, but the person can't hear them because they're just so shocked. That was basically what it was like for me. And I know his grandma was saying something in the background, but I was just so like, oh my God, and I know you can't put water on this kind of fire because it's oil. It's like an oil fire. It would just make it worse. So I'm just like stunned, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So, and there's a sliding glass door that leads to a stone patio right behind us. So I'm like, okay, if I can just put it on stone outside, and then maybe I can like gather myself and know how to put this out. So, and all of this is happening in like the span of like a second or two in my head. And I take the pot holder and I grab the pan and I turn around and start walking towards the door, and then the door was already slightly open, so there's kind of a breeze coming in, so there's a breeze blowing air into the fire and blowing it back towards me. It burned my hair a little bit, the left side of my face, like all my beard hair is slightly singed. I know you can't really see it on the camera probably, but my eyelashes on my left eye are like melted together. I got burned, like blisters on my hands here, just on like this part where I was kind of like grabbing the pan like this, trying to carefully move, because there was still oil in the pan that was on fire, so I was trying to carefully move it, but the elements were against me. So yeah, the fire was literally like blowing onto me, and it was so hot I just had to drop the pan. So I literally dropped it, and it landed right in like underneath the kitchen table in the dining room, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna catch the kitchen table on fire, like, because the fire is still raging out of this pan. So I like pick it up again and just move it over a little bit, and now there's a giant burn mark. I'll put the photos. I had my boyfriend take some photos of the damage. So there's one giant burn mark, and now there's another one, and by the time I pick it up and move it away from the table so that it's not like, the fire's not like blowing up underneath the table, his grandma comes over with a lid and just puts it on the pan, and the fire goes out. And it was that simple. All I needed to do was get a lid and put it. I didn't have a lid next to me, and I'm like pretty familiar with her kitchen at this point, but I wasn't super like, it's not my kitchen. I didn't have a lid out, which I should have. And as many times as I've cooked things, I've never had that thought like, oh, I need to have a lid in case an Inferno happens. It didn't strike me. And, lesson learned, I will always have a lid now, no matter what kind of cooking I'm doing, to snuff out a fire in case one starts. It was pretty traumatic for me, and a big blow to my ego, and I felt very stupid after the whole ordeal. And, like, when it's happening, when I picked up the pan and turned to go take it outside, his grandma's screaming like, "You're gonna catch the effing house on fire!" And I'm just like so fixated on just like getting this flame out the back door. And yeah, all I needed to do the whole time was just get a lid and put it on top of the pan, and it would have snuffed the fire out. But it was just one of those moments that I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. It was just like instant inferno. Like I didn't know what happened, and I'm still not really sure how it happened, because I know you can't mix water and oil in high heat because that creates fire. But the water wasn't in the pan. Maybe there was still like some of it that I couldn't see, and I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. So yes, you can laugh at me. Yes, I still feel like a big idiot, and I still, it's like still playing in my mind a little bit, but it only took me one night to get over it. Like, I'm sharing this story with the internet because it's just like, I feel like it felt like an initiation, like a test. I know that sounds weird, but it really did. Like, it felt like fated, as weird as it is to say. It really did, because I spent all night. I slept for like maybe 2 hours last night, and then I woke up, I had some weird dreams, I wrote them down, and then I just stayed up all night from I woke up around 3, and then I just couldn't fall back asleep, so I just stayed up thinking about processing the emotions from the event, and everything, and luckily, my boyfriend's already sanded down the burn marks on the floor and refinished the floor, and it looks great. So I very supported in it, and his grandma was very nice to me afterwards, and she was thankful that I wasn't severely burned, or like that nothing, like it didn't escalate further than, you know, what it did. And she was very nice about the floor. She wasn't worried about it that much. And I ruined her. That pan is ruined, so I owe her a pan, a nice stainless steel pan. And I know those ain't cheap. So yeah. But anyway, I was processing the emotions, and I don't know. I feel I've already let it go. Like that's why I'm making this video. I have no, like, yeah, my ego is bruised a little bit still, but I don't really care. Like, people are going to be like, oh my God, you're so dumb. And yeah, I mean, I did feel really dumb in that moment. Like, why couldn't I think, like, just snuff it out with a lid in that moment? But it just didn't come to me. I don't know why. So, this message is about being kind to yourself when you go through a very intense experience like that. And in that moment, a moment that no one was expecting, no one was prepared for, one that you've never experienced in your life before, and you just feel so stupid afterwards. Like, the message here is, be nice to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Because, yeah, you can't be prepared for everything all the time. It's not how life works. Sometimes you get thrown things that are just completely left field, that nobody was expecting to happen, and it catches you off guard, and you might have like a deer in the headlights moment. You know, the silver lining to this for me is that now I know, you know, to always have something to snuff out a fire whenever you're cooking, because you never know what can happen when you're working with, like, heat or any kind of form of fire. So fire safety. Yeah. Smokey the Bear is also the sponsor of this message, which is funny because the bear archetype has been everywhere for me lately. So I meditated earlier today, and I pulled some tarot cards. I was like, let me get some tarot cards just to, like, contemplate while I'm meditating. And the two that came out were so, like, this is why I made this video. It was the Eight of Swords and the Page of Wands, and then the Two of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck when I drew these. And here, I might as well show you that one too. So that's the Two of Pentacles, which is all about, like, juggling, you know, this or that, or balance, a balancing act. And it was, I took it as saying, like, okay, are you going to let this event trap you in your mind with all of these thoughts? Or are you going to learn your lesson from being a novice, you know, stir-fry cook and just get on with your life, go on a new adventure, get over it? Like, things can be repaired. Nobody got hospitalized. The house didn't catch on fire. You know, everything that was damaged can be restored. Half of it already is restored. So, yeah, don't let those situations like that trap you. Don't let them Eight of Swords you. Don't let it happen. You got to get back up and get back out there. And yeah, fire is dangerous, but also, you know, man has mastered it. Like, we know how to work with fire, and, you know, natural fires can still be insane and severely destructive, but we're at least aware of, you know, we're hyper aware of the amount of destruction that element can bring. So there's also a message here, I'm wearing my red shirt, about just the element of fire in general, and the ways that it's showing up in your life right now. Like, maybe really think about that and think about, is it out of control? Is it, do you have safety measures in place in case it does get out of control? Just things to think about. And then I did have just some symbols that came through on the meditation too. I'll just run through these really quickly. First thing that came to me was a butterfly that morphed into a dragonfly that morphed into a moth. And so there's like a trio of flying insects here, and I believe they all go through metamorphosis. I'm not really sure about the life cycle of dragonflies, but I do believe they undergo some serious changes from birth to death, much like the butterfly and the moth. I just don't know. I don't think they do cocoons. I don't think that's a dragonfly thing. I don't know, though. I meant to look it up, but distractions. I also saw an owl. I had a weird vision of one of those amusement park swing, circular swing things. They go high up in the air and there's like swings on chains and they just twirl around. But instead of swings on the chains, it was like human heads, and it was like swinging around at kind of an angle. So there was like a high portion of it and then a low portion going kind of like this. And the central pillar that was holding the whole thing up was a tree. So there's something about like natural cycles tied to identity or like personal expression, because I took the heads to mean like, different forms of yourself, and the tree kind of being like, the trunk of your body, like the central pillar of your being. So it's like cycling through all these different like aspects of you or phases of you, or you could even say like emotions of yourself. Because I went through a pretty crazy roller coaster of emotions last night, related like post that incident. And then I saw a werebat. It was like a monstrous bat creature that was like, it reminded me of a werewolf, but it was just a bat with wings, but it was gigantic and like bulky and had like huge fangs, like dripping with blood. It was very intense. So there's some very intense energies at play right now. Yeah, just be careful. Just take precautions out there at this time. And then also the letter W, and specifically the word west for the letter W. And which that made me think of my granddaddy, who he passed away from COVID in 2021, August of 2021 actually. But when he was in the hospital, we kind of had this plan to like make a custom greeting card, and we each had like assigned a letter, and the letter I got was a W. And he loved Western movies, so West, that's probably why that came through for me, but it could be relevant to someone out there, so it's worth mentioning. And it could be related to your ancestors. Also, the West is, where the sun sets. So some kind of ending is implied here. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to look at my astrology chart relating to the cooking fire incident, and I did have some pretty intense fire correspondences going on. I had my natal Jupiter conjunct the transiting sun. I am I use True Sky astrology, so my True Sky natal Jupiter is in Virgo, and my True Sky sun, natal sun, is in Gemini. So I had my natal Virgo Jupiter conjunct the Virgo sun that we have right now, according to True Sky astrology, and then I have my natal Gemini sun conjunct the transiting Gemini Jupiter. So the sun and Jupiter, fire, both fire. And then we have some air with Gemini and earth with Virgo. And, those three elements are like fire, the big fire, all the things you need to make an inferno. And I kind of took like Gemini made me think of the air blowing in that kind of like fueled the fire and blew it back on me. And then Virgo reminded me of the veggie oil that I was trying to cook with. Yeah. So I do want to pull a couple more cards, just to see what else comes through. Just to round out the message. Bear with me here while I give them a good shuffle. So far we've got the Empress on the split and the Two of Swords. So yeah, the Two of Swords is making me think like take a time out, and the Empress is making me think like nurture yourself and be kind to yourself. And then also the Temperance, yeah. So again, taking that time out and really like mixing those emotions and kind of like coming to a conclusion within yourself after you go through something that really kind of rocks your foundation. Okay. Let's see. Alright, we'll just take those, and then I'm feeling one more, so I'll pull one more randomly here. Alright. So, let me just take a look at these for a second. Yeah, so the one I pulled by itself was the Ace of Cups. And this always makes me think of the heart space. So, and you see here it's overflowing, and it looks really abundant and nice and beautiful, like a fountain, and like peaceful, like everything's okay. And this is how I feel on the inside now, after the Five of Wands event. This really kind of fiery, explosive energy. Yeah, this card to me just speaks of the event itself. It's all about like challenges and conflicts, things like that. I'm actually kind of surprised the Tower didn't come out, but because that's what I was picking up on, that the energy of that whole experience was the Tower. But Five of Wands encapsulates it pretty good too. We have the Three of Cups, which is, I take this as me, my boyfriend, and his grandma are kind of all like coming together afterwards and, you know, reassuring each other and you know, just making each other feel good after a very intense experience. And then we have the Two of Pentacles coming out again as well. And the Four of Cups is on the bottom. And underneath the Four of Cups is the Five of Cups, oh my god, followed by the Eight of Wands. Followed by the Eight of Cups. Oh my gosh. Alright, so just rapid fire. This was me processing my emotions after the event. The Eight of Swords we've already talked about, being kind of trapped in a mental loop of replaying the experience in my mind and thinking what could I have done differently. The sadness and grief I felt with the Five of Cups, being upset at myself for not handling it differently. And then ultimately, the Eight of Cups, choosing to walk away from those, you know, frankly unbeneficial feelings of like, you know, just being a victim of the experience, just moving on from it. And getting a fresh new start. And the Ace of Wands is under that. I could keep going on this. These cards are all just, yeah. But yeah, Wands, fire. So a new start with fire. Now I know. I have learned something from that experience. Especially whenever you're trying to do, you know, make a dish that you've never done before in a fashion that you've never done before. Like, always make sure you have the proper safety precautions around you. Just, you know, that could have turned out a lot worse than it did. I'm glad that it didn't get any worse than that. And, you know, looking back at it now, just the next day Like I said, I feel okay with it now. I feel like I processed it really fast. Usually, before, it would have taken me a while to get over that, and I would have just like shut down, and I would have gotten really depressed, and I wouldn't have wanted to do anything today. I did my exercises today, my stretches. I played my guitar, practiced some songs that I've been writing. I meditate. I did all the things that I wanted to do today, and I didn't let that stop me. And do I still feel like kind of shaken up about it? Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, my ego's pretty bruised about it. But I also feel like light as a feather about it in my heart. Like I can talk about it. I can joke about it. I can own up to, yeah, that was, my stupid mistake. But now I know. And next time I'll be prepared for, taking it on an endeavor like that. All right. I think I've said enough about it. Thanks for being here with me. I hope you found something valuable, useful, touching in this message. Take care of yourselves and keep your heart open. Bye.